Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you news about ISIS, a U.S. Navy deployment, California Highway Patrol, city news, and today's KZGN Talking Points editorial, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News Crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Whitnick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. We open tonight with some breaking news from the Ridgecrest Police Department. The Ridgecrest Police Department is asking for your help in finding a suspect. The police were recently dispatched to a report of an assault with a deadly weapon. During the investigation, 2 juvenile victims were contacted. Officers were told that Lamont Robinson had assaulted them with a hammer during a physical altercation over the theft of a cell phone. Leon Lewis also reportedly assaulted one of the involved juveniles during the altercation and fled before police had arrived on the scene. Lewis is described as a black male, 34 years old. If anyone has knowledge about Lewis's location or his whereabouts, call the police department at 760-499-5100 or Detective Cushman at 760-499-5114, or send a Facebook message to the Ridgecrest Police Department Facebook, or contact them on their tip page. That was news from the Ridgecrest Police Department. In news about the war on ISIS, Russia has determined that the plane that went down in Egypt a couple weeks ago was due to a homemade bomb. Russia says they have conclusive evidence of the bomb now. Putin has gone on TV declaring they would hunt down those responsible anywhere in the world and get them. Overnight, there are reports that Russia has launched numerous cruise missile and airstrikes into ISIS in Syria. This comes at a time that France is also stepping up their airstrikes. What some news sources are now asking our president is, why is France striking known targets such as training centers, headquarters facilities, and other known targets? Why weren't they hit before this? The White House is not answering these increasingly critical questions. In news from the Navy, we get this deployment report. The Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group, centered on nuclear aircraft carrier USS Harry Truman, is slated to depart Naval Station Norfolk on Monday to join the U.S.-led coalition against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. The Truman deployment will include guided missile cruiser USS Anzio and guided missile destroyers USS Bulkley, USS Gravely, and USS Gonzalez, as well as carrier Air Wing No. 7. While deployed, the strike group will serve in the U.S. 5th and 6th Fleet areas of responsibility, conducting maritime security operations and theater security cooperation efforts. The news of the Monday deployment comes a month after the Theodore Roosevelt left U.S. 5th Fleet and U.S. Central Command, leaving the region without a U.S. carrier in the area for the first time in years. When airstrikes began against ISIS in 2014, U.S. carriers were the centerpiece of Operation Inherent Resolve, while the U.S. secured allies and airfields for land-based airstrikes against ISIS. The gap between the Roosevelt and Truman, which will probably be about 2 months, will likely be a more common occurrence as the Navy catches up with more than a decade of deferred maintenance on its carrier forces. Last year, an extension of a maintenance for Truman prompted the Truman and the Eisenhower to swap places in their planned deployments. On Friday, the Navy announced that the Roosevelt had chopped into U.S. 3rd Fleet en route bound for its new home port at Naval Station San Diego, California. The move is part of a 3-carrier swap that deployed USS Ronald Reagan to Japan and sent USS George Washington to begin its midlife refueling in Newport News, Virginia. The California Highway Patrol has reported that last Sunday at 5:55 p.m., James Robert Bibby, age 53, from Valencia, California, died from a vehicle rollover accident. The accident occurred on Garlock Road, 7 miles west of U.S. Highway 395, around Randsburg. The time of the death was 6:40 p.m. Here's what happened. James Robert Bibby was the operator of a pickup truck that left the roadway and overturned on Garlock Road, 7 miles from Highway 395. He was declared deceased at the scene from his injuries. For more information, contact the California Highway Patrol in Mojave. In city news, the City Infrastructure Committee will meet Thursday at 5 p.m. in the Council Conference Room. The items they'll be discussing will be Ridgecrest Boulevard bulb outs, This item has been getting continuous complaints from some people in wheelchairs having difficulty getting around the concrete bulbouts on West Ridgecrest Boulevard. There will be an update on the bus access to the Senior Center. There will also be an update on what has been decided concerning the new Murray Middle School traffic circulation problem. And there will be another update on the Down Street widening project. And finally, they'll get an update on the new proposed wastewater treatment facility. Next, we get this report from Ridgecrest Regional Hospital. Have your say. Your input is valuable. To understand the healthcare needs and concerns of our community, Ridgecrest Regional Hospital conducts a community health needs assessment every 3 years. As part of the assessment, we survey community residents to better understand their health concerns and services in the community. The information from the survey, along with public health data and community health experts' inputs, will enable the hospital and its board of directors to develop short-term and long-term plans to improve and introduce health services for the community. The survey is conducted by an independent organization, so we want to assure you that your answers are kept anonymous. They do not require your name or any other personal information by which you can be identified. They will combine your answers with other answers and will not use names or other identifying information in any reports or presentations. You can take the survey online, or if you want to mail in a survey, you can do so. If you do not receive a mail-in survey and are interested in completing a hard copy survey, you can obtain a copy from Ridgecrest Regional Hospital main building at the check-in desk. Please provide your inputs by the end of December. And don't forget, tomorrow evening at 6 p.m., the City Council will hold their regular meeting at City Hall. The most important item on the agenda is that the Council will hold a discussion of the 2015 updated Model Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance. This is a new conservation ordinance that the Council has until December to either pass their own ordinance or the state's ordinance becomes effective and controlling of the city. City and county local agencies in California are responsible for adopting and reporting on a water efficient landscape ordinance. Local agencies will have until December 1st, 2015 to adopt the state's model ordinance or to adopt a local ordinance which must be at least as effective in conserving water. A local agency may choose to allow the model ordinance to become effective by default and then adopt a local ordinance at a later time. Local agencies are not limited to require only levels of water conservation stipulated by the state's ordinance. The local ordinance can require higher levels of water conservation as determined appropriate by the local agency. This item will likely have to be coordinated with the Indian Wells Valley Water District. Now stay tuned for today's KZGN Talking Points editorial when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Now it's time for the 95th KZGN News Talking Points editorial. Here's today's topic. Has President Obama lost touch with reality? Yes, you heard me right. I am really asking if anyone out there thinks Obama has lost touch with reality. Or do you think he's okay? I mean, really. I'd really like to know your thoughts on this. All weekend we heard talk about the ISIS attacks on France. And the one main point is that news people and Washington politicians have been expressing concern about the hundreds of thousands of refugees flowing out of Syria and Iraq into Europe, and U.S. politicians expressing concern over Obama's plans to allow over 100,000 refugees to come to the United States. The main concern of many people was the potential that ISIS would use these flows of people to export their own soldiers. Obama and other European nations said that they were screening everyone to make sure they aren't terrorists. Well, now the French have determined that one of the bombers did make it into France via this mass migration of refugees. And even after this proof, Obama gives a speech to the G20 that we should not tie the refugee migrations to the terrorist. I shake my head in astonishment. He still denies the prospect that ISIS is using the flow of people to export his soldiers. It's so smart, and Obama continues to deny the reality. I really think someone needs to question his sanity. Really. Obama insists that the ones that come in will be screened to make sure they aren't terrorists. Does anyone really believe the government will have access to all the records they would need to determine that these are not terrorists? Every news network is asking the same questions concerning the supposed background checks on these refugees. They're asking, where are they going to get data that will allow them to make a conclusive determination that the person is not a terrorist? Answer, there is no database that will allow this depth of research. Think about this. To get a job and work for the government and then get a secret clearance, it can take up to 6 months. And all this investigation is done of real citizens of the country, and they have backgrounds that can be checked right here in the USA. And even then, we hear every few months about someone with a clearance taking up arms against his fellow soldiers and killing them in the name of Allah. We find soldiers turning against their country and providing damaging classified information to our enemies. So does anyone really believe our government will have access to all the foreign data about these thousands of people that Obama wants to let into the country? And if they actually try and do a thorough background check of these people, it could take months and maybe even a year to do. Where will they keep these people during this period? And do you think that after a few months someone will bring a court action against the government of holding the people too long? I can see that coming. Once they're on U.S. soil, all sorts of implied rights falls upon them. And all the bleeding heart liberals will see news reports showing kids and their mothers held in these refugee camps in deplorable conditions and want them released right now. And then there's a video released by ISIS declaring responsibility for the French bombings. And in the video, it has them warning that Washington, D.C. is next. They tell us they have recruits in 17 states already, and they actually named 4 states, including California. That these soldiers are just waiting for orders for when and where to attack. And then we heard last night that with all the intelligence resources we and all Europe puts into the fight against terrorists, not one of them had any indication that the attacks were imminent in France. This is not a criticism of our intelligence people. I know they're doing everything they can within the law to try and gather data to protect us. However, they say that in past attacks they have always found some chatter or internet communications pointing to an attack. But this time, nothing was seen. They are now wondering about internet providers supplying dark communication networks for these terrorists. I never heard of a dark network until last night. Apparently it is a way to use the internet in a manner using common devices or software that also have hidden communication capabilities not visible to anyone. One news story even alluded to using one of the popular game systems to communicate. So, just as we recently heard of some teens using hidden applications to do sexting, I guess we also have these hidden networks for the terrorist. So let's try and sum up the reality of recent events for Obama. 1. There was an attack in France of a person that went into France under cover of the refugee movement. 2. Our intelligence community doesn't know how these terrorists are now communicating. 3. There is no way they can get enough information to make certain determination that refugees they want to let into the country will not be terrorists. 4. ISIS has warned us of their next target here in the United States. And 5th, ISIS declares they have soldiers in the U.S. in at least 17 states, and we have a president that can't see this, or is just in a flat state of denial for some reason. This is lunacy. Hey, we've witnessed some pretty stupid things done over the years by Washington politicians and the Obama administration, but nothing rises to the level of this stupidity of this idea that we need to let 100,000 Syrians into the country. Couple that with our southern border, where we have probably had many terrorists come into the country already. We know this because our border people have actually caught terrorists trying to get in. Yes, they have caught people in the past, right at the border. So for everyone they stopped, how many do you think got across undetected? 10, 20, 100, maybe 1,000? How many? If 11 million illegal aliens made it in undetected, how many terrorists do you think made it in over the last 10 years? Think about it. We may have hundreds or maybe even thousands that have already snuck over our uncontrolled border. And now the president wants to actually invite hundreds of thousands more in. Welcome them into our country. ISIS has to be laughing their butts off at our stupidity. Even Middle Eastern countries won't let these people into their countries, and they're Muslims. Even they are smart enough to say, no way. Don't send them here. So they go to Europe to take advantage of those soft people that feel we need to be nice to them. Some actually believe that once ISIS sees how nice we are to the Muslims, that they'll stop wanting to kill us. Does anyone see how stupid that is? Come on, wake up, America. These barbaric animal terrorists do not want to get along with us. They want us and our way of life dead. Dead. They don't want to sit around the campfire singing Kumbaya. They want us dead. And then we have a president that refuses to change his strategy to deal with these animals. There are media reports, even by liberal-leaning networks, that the White House staff's real strategy has been to just try and do as little as they can to fight ISIS and then pass it off to the next administration. Well, folks, the soft be nice approach has just blown up in their faces. But still, in yesterday's speech, Obama insists he'll stay the course we are on now. I wish I could just get a hold of Obama and shake him to get him to open his eyes and mind to how the country is falling apart under this administration. This is pure lunacy. Ever hear the saying, you can't see the forest because of the trees? Well, it appears Obama doesn't even believe there's a forest. In conclusion, wake up, America. Wake up, Obama. These barbaric animal terrorists do not want to get along with us. They want us and our way of life dead. Dead. If you agree with me, start letting your elected representatives know now, especially the White House. I'm Tom Winnick, and that's what I think. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any comments about this editorial, or would like to discuss or recommend a topic, I'd like to hear from you. Please email them to info@kzgn.net. Now stay tuned for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Lane for the weather.
Thank you, Tom. The National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center is forecasting a risk of severe thunderstorms capable of widespread damaging winds and a few tornadoes across parts of the southern U.S., from southern Missouri to the Gulf Coast. There is an enhanced risk across northern Louisiana, central and southern Arkansas, and extreme western Mississippi. Temperatures across the nation. Carolinas is 70, Georgia is 70, Arkansas is 71, northern Texas at 52, Arizona at 57, and LA is 67. And for us locally, tonight mostly clear with a low around 36, southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Wednesday, sunny with a high near 69, southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Wednesday night, clear with a low around 40, northwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Thursday, sunny with a high near 69, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Thursday night, clear with a low around 44, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And Friday, sunny with a high near 72, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And that is your forecast for the IWV. Now back to Tom.
Thanks, Lane. And now here's Tom Heck with sports.
And a pleasant Tuesday afternoon to everyone. Burroughs High School football, don't forget, Friday night at La Quinta, quarterfinal game. It'll be on the radio at 12:40 a.m. KLOA. Also, the Coaches Show Thursday night at 7 o'clock on 12:40 a.m. All right, last night on Monday Night Football, a big surprise. The Texans somehow, someway, defeated the Bengals 10-6 in Cincinnati, of all places. The first loss of the year for the Bengals, and that keeps the Texans at the record of 4-5, tied for first place. Who would have thunk it? All right, let's talk about the Lakers. 2-9 now. They lost to Phoenix in Phoenix last night by a score of 120-101. They didn't have Kobe Bryant. He was out again. Lakers will play again Friday night at home against Toronto. San Antonio, the Bulls, Memphis, Boston, and Dallas also won last night. Now, Dallas beat the 76ers. The Sixers are now 0-12 to start the year. San Antonio coach Greg Popovich said that he would last 1 month as the coach of the 76ers. They are not very good. Young team trying to build again. All right, college football tonight, Tuesday night. They've got Toledo and Bowling Green. That's a Mid-America game of the week. They play every Tuesday night in the Mid-America Conference. Some big games this weekend for college football fans. This is rivalry weekend in a lot of games. Air Force and Boise State, both 7-3. They need a win to try to stay to get a good bowl game. Boise State lost to New Mexico at home on Saturday night. The first time New Mexico has beaten Boise State in ages. Dick Davies doing a great job at UNM. All right, number 12 Notre Dame will play Virginia Tech. Notre Dame right now is putting themselves in a position where they might be one of the top 4 teams when it comes to playoffs. And again, the top 4 get to play for the number 1 spot, just elimination games. All right, number 14, Michigan's at Penn State. Penn State 7-3, having a decent year. 17, LSU, who miserably last week beaten by Alabama. And 25, Mississippi State battle it out. The loser there will probably drop out of a big bowl game. All right, for the Pac-12, the University of Arizona, who just knocked off Utah, plays at Arizona State. UCLA at Utah. That's a crucial game. The loser there, basically no chance for that Southern Division championship. Right now, UCLA is on the verge of a big bowl game. If they lose, it's going to knock them out a couple notches. And if you think of it as dollars, probably millions of dollars of money. Michigan State, Ohio State, that game will be on ABC in the middle of the afternoon Saturday. Michigan State only 1 loss, and Ohio State no losses this year. USC and Oregon, huge game also. Those 2 teams fighting out for the Pac-12 championship. And then Cal and Stanford, the big game, that'll be Saturday night in Stanford, and Colorado at Washington State. Washington State knocked off UCLA at the Rose Bowl last Saturday night. Colorado a lot better, record doesn't indicate it, but they've had some hard luck losses. Pac-12 good this year in football. That's your sports for this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Now stay tuned for a Ridgecrest Talk coming up next.